So guys, no more speculations, we finally know the actual ending of Sylvanas in the Shadowlands, and it is pretty much as we had speculated up to this point. Obviously, in a few days we will see the official conclusion, but we have some data mined voice lines which are incredibly clear on what is going on, as we have the dialogue between the Arbiter, Tyrande, and Sylvanas, and she is essentially being sentenced to do dailies forever, and the redemption isn't really going in either direction, so there is still some room for a lot of things to happen. So what is all this new data mined info and what will be happening to Sylvanas? If you're waiting for something and want time to go faster, then Hero Wars might just be the game for you. A fantasy online RPG game right in your pocket where you can battle monsters, level up characters at a moment's notice. Check out my link in the description to try it yourself. There is a pretty big campaign, 50 different heroes, all with unique skills and 6 various modes from PvP to PvE with Arena, Outland, Tower, and a bunch of others. Now, Hero Wars is really easy to get into, just complete missions, get rewards, equipment, experience, level up your heroes, and take them into battle. What is even cooler is that you can play the game on Android, iOS, as well as the browser, and there are over 100 million players worldwide. If you join the game now, you'll get a super chest with a secret hero, as well as 600 emeralds and 30k gold. Scan the QR code or download the game from my link below in the description, and see you in game. So, at this point, we're pretty much before the actual end of the Shadowlands as an expansion. In a few days, we might even get the actual cinematics. The next expansion will be announced in less than a month, and finally, after all this time, we know what will happen with Sylvanas, and I gotta say, I have kinda mixed feelings about this. It isn't terrible, it isn't great, and realistically, there is an opening here for Sylvanas to return, which definitely worries me, as I feel like she is just beyond overly represented. So, quick summary is that Pelagos became the new Arbiter. This much we already knew up to this point if you followed the spoilers, but we got a brand new cinematic just a few days back. There's a bunch of lore there, but essentially, Shadowlands no longer lacks an Arbiter, and as the Jailer was defeated, the rift closed and Pelagos got a role, things are pretty much returning back to normal. In regards to how this dialogue progresses, what actually happens, we don't really know exactly, we don't know the complete context, but pretty much we have data mined a conversation between the Arbiter, Sylvanas, and Tyrande, where the Arbiter is like the judge, although he does seem to be giving Tyrande pretty much all the power to pass down the actual sentence to Sylvanas. Pelagos starts with Sylvanas, Windrunner. There can be no true justice without compassion, and I can see your deeds bear the mark of the Jailer's influence, an influence we failed to contain. Then you know in your heart to whom you must answer, entrusting justice to your most fervent adversary. So they essentially continue with Sylvanas was under the control of the Jailer that entire thing, and they kinda shift the blame a bit to themselves, but ultimately Pelagos just gives control over to Tyrande, meaning he doesn't really do all that much in this entire process. However, Sylvanas has a bit of an interesting and a bit of an unexpected response to this, as she says, "The Jailer did not control me. Death would be a merciful end, Tyrande, however long it takes." Apparently, Sylvanas here takes responsibility for her own actions and says that the Jailer didn't actually control her. This bit here is a bit confusing as we don't know what exactly happened. Previous lore stated that he held a portion of her soul and essentially mind controlled her, but I'm guessing they're going with the more like she was heavily under his influence instead of just being straight out mind domination, as was the case with Anduin. Nonetheless, the novel is coming out any day now in the cinematics, so they will probably clear all this stuff up. Now, interestingly enough, Tyrande finally appears and responds to this. What game do you play now, Banshee? The Sylvanas I hunted would never submit to the blade of her enemy. Your newfound remorse might even be genuine. There will be no peace for you, Windrunner. The prisoner is in my charge now. This one is a bit interesting. Tyrande thinks that her remorse is genuine, yet shows her teeth as well, which means that Blizzard didn't just completely disarm Tyrande. And now, the most important part of this data mine leak, she actually gives her sentence to Sylvanas, which I gotta say, we totally predicted this a few months back with the data mine info that we had and all this stuff. So Tyrande says, "Below lies the maw. Every soul lost in its death, betrayed or condemned, you should find it and send it forth to the Arbiter. You will toil there under Doritor's watchful eye." Now, if you don't know who Doritor is, it is the owl that follows Tyrande. And then Tyrande continues, "This is how you shall bring renewal to your victims. Watch her well. old friend. So as we had speculated and as I said in a video a few months back, it turns out we were completely right. It is highly likely that that new grand jump animation that was data mined is pretty much Sylvanas jumping into the maw to save the souls of the Night Elven people. Honestly, my feelings are kind of mixed with this. I do think this might be decent punishment because, as Sylvanas says, death would be the most merciful end, and really this way she would be able to actually undo at least some of the damage she had done. However, it is hard to say at the moment what does all this actually mean. I think it is kind of funny that she's essentially just destined to do that maw daily we all did for like a year for all eternity. Although it more than likely isn't all eternity, it is hard to say how does this actually work. The jailer is obviously defeated, so no one is in charge of the maw anymore. There is no eye of the jailer or even the jailer. Does this mean that the Mawthorn are no longer hostile? Are all the tortured souls that were under the jailer free? How is Sylvanas exactly going to save the Night Elven people? Does she have to like fight the Mawthorn, or, you know, just wander the land and collect soul by soul in this tedious, super long process? This judgment does sound kind of fitting, but it is really confusing in practical terms on how exactly this is going to work out, although the new cinematics might actually explain this and give us some answers, as well as the novel that will be released at any point now. So now, on to the rest of the actual data-mined voice lines that we have. Essentially, Pelagos just accepts the judgment of Tyrande, and Sylvanas responds to this. My actions were mine alone, and I accept their consequences, and I do not expect your mercy. Essentially, Sylvanas just doubles down on accepting her responsibility, and once again, she says she was not mind controlled by the jailer. However, Tyrande responds to this and gives a response that really gives a whole nother meaning to this entire sentence that she already passed down. But it can never erase all you have done until there is peace for the souls of your victims, an unjust fate to which you doomed so many. And it will be there that your penance begins, to be judged with the compassion all souls deserve, scouring every darkened reach until the final soul is free and you are all that remains and my people. It shall be done. So essentially, Tyrande says that yeah, it's cool that you accept the responsibility and all, but that doesn't really mean anything. No one cares about your apology. The only way to actually repent is to free every single soul that you have personally doomed within the maw. However, the worrying bit is that she says this is where your penance begins, which once again brings us to the practical implications of this actual sentence. What does this really mean? Are they implying that she is going to be redeemed at one point, as in she first has to free the souls, and once that is done, there might be a chance that she returns or that the judgment continues? This also brings us to the vague concept which has been kind of half confirmed by Blizzard, and that is that time travels differently in the Shadowlands as opposed to Azeroth and the Material Plane. Of course, we don't know the exact number of Night Elven souls that died with the burning of Teldrassil, but it is literally like 1 million. And as I said, we don't know how souls are freed exactly in the lore and where they are really kept. Can she like use some sort of an artifact or something to gather them and just bring them back in bulk? And if time goes faster, does that mean that Sylvanas is going to return like after the next expansion or in the very near future? I mean, I understand that the entire Sylvanas was a victim of Arthas and the jailer, but can we just please like just end her character? Like, did they leave room here for Sylvanas to play yet another role in some sort of a future expansion? Didn't Sylvanas already get way too much spotlight, like more than pretty much any other character in these past few expansions? Also, Tyrande was kind of vague. Did she say that she will be redeemed after this task is complete, or that she's going to give her death after that, or possibly yet another task? At this point, with the current information, we just don't really know. However, my thoughts on this are kind of mixed. I think just like with Arthas, with the current circumstances, this might honestly be the best case scenario, but it is in no way excellent writing or anything of the sort. I think they kind of wrote themselves into a hole with these past few expansions, especially with the Shadowlands, and this is probably the best way to just get out of it, as really, when I examine any other alternate scenario, it just doesn't seem to be any better or to do any more justice. Let's see. If Sylvanas was killed, we would just think, yeah, there would be way too easy of an escape from all that she had done. If she was sentenced to like some sort of a tower or some sort of a prison for all eternity, that still wouldn't really undo or free the souls that she personally sent into the maw. If she sacrificed herself in that final battle against the jailer, they would pretty much turn her into a hero, and would possibly even be the worst case scenario, as that would redeem her while also kinda freeing her of responsibility. So when you really examine it and look at this realistically, this might have honestly been the best thing they could do with what they were working with her recently. I think if they didn't mess up the writing so far, as this Sylvanas really is a joke compared to the super interesting character for Warcraft 3, her ending could obviously have been different, but this way, Sylvanas actually frees the souls and her ending is kind of vague, meaning it might not be all there is to her sentence. The only thing I'm kind of worried about is the entire possibility of a time skip and her actually completing this task, and this might mean that she returns at some point, and knowing how much Blizzard likes her, and likes really is an understatement, they might give her another big role in the future, which I really hope is not the case. Saving souls is cool and all, but you know, saving souls from eternal torture and bringing them to the afterlife they deserve is not the same thing as bringing them back to life and actually restoring the burned world tree, which, while undoing some damage, doesn't actually undo anything when you think about it, at least from the perspective of the material plane. Although, it's not like she can really do anything else other than this, aside from like what, resurrecting like a million night elves and just creating a brand new Scourge. Thank you for watching. Check out his Prime as the actual jailer by clicking on the screen, and check out the Nodes Academy for videos on real world history. See you next time.